Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And probably the three of us being here indicates that we don't fear the IRS, right? So then why are we here? No, I certainly agree with the points you made about the general IRS employee attempting to do their job, but a difficult job. Ms. Olson, 2015 is the first year that the IRS has to implement a number of measures that are targeted with the Affordable Care Act. For example, one of those being the employer shared responsibility payment. Your report suggested that the IRS doesn't know which employees are going to be responsible for evaluating employers, so those employees probably will not have adequate training, if I understand the report. Let me ask you, what complexities will the IRS employees face in determining which employers must pay the employer shared responsibility payment?
I think there are a lot of questions about what employees are going to be included in some very complex calculations to determine who is covered, who should be covered, and then who isn't covered. And that all goes into the calculation of whether the employer is going to be penalized. And the penalty is very, very stiff and very steep. And our concern has been that we have heard from a lot of employers about the complexity of these determinations and that they have not been able to get answers in the way or with the speed that they need to get them. This is a new initiative, but I think this is where transparency and engaging with the population that's going to be penalized should have happened a long time ago and needs to happen now and really needs to heed them, what their concerns are.
Do you see any efforts toward that direction?
I think people are trying. I think that that it's not as open as I would like. I also think some of it is that the IRS isn't the only one involved in this. You know, they're getting information from other areas. The law is very complex, and there are lots of government agencies involved. It's getting better, but we want to see more engagement, and we want to see more guidance, even if it's put out there in a temporary format.
Okay. Another area with ACA is the work week, the hours, 30 hours provisions. Right. That's there. IRS, from your report, has failed to issue formal guidance about calculating full-time employees for the Employer Shared Responsibility Act. Has the IRS offered a reason why it will not help employers, especially when they can't use the website and the information on the website as a defense for failure to do it the way the IRS then says they should? Is there a reason why they won't help employers to understand their obligation?
I have not heard a reason, and we really focused in on that 30-hour calculation because that's what we heard a great deal from employers. You know, they need to have some certainty. In a way, they'll accept an answer as long as they have an answer so that then they can do their own programming. There's a whole domino effect to this guidance. You know, once you get it out there, people have to program their own systems. They have to do their assurance processes and things like that. And people are doing the best they can, and they're worried that they will be penalized and the penalties won't be abated if they show good faith effort. And we're trying to identify the issues and raise them to the IRS and get them to engage with the community.
Well, certainly guidelines ought to be a defense.
You would think so.
If they've attempted to follow
Yes.
it.
If you tried to follow what was generic out there on the website, that goes to the penalty abatement. But again, why would you want to put an employer in the position of having to ask for penalty abatement when they could have avoided the penalty in the beginning if they had the guidance?
Yeah. On the individual shared responsibility payment issue, you've indicated that in tax year 2014, approximately 412,000 taxpayers overpaid the penalty associated with a failure to comply. The average you stated was $123 per return. What percentage of taxpayers had to make the individual shared responsibility payment?
Pardon?
What percentage of taxpayers?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. It's in my testimony, it's in my annual report, I can get you that.
We have 412,000 taxpayers. It's just wondering what percentage.
Of them all,
those.
I don't know the answer to that, but I can give you that
We could get that, that'd be
percentage.
great.
Yeah. You know, those overpayments a lot of them were driven by software not asking taxpayers to identify their exemptions. And so they were actually exempt from having health insurance, but they didn't ask. And so the software didn't ask, and so they didn't tell anybody. And that's also true that some of the preparers didn't ask. We were able to work with the software companies to get some of those programs changed for this filing season, and we'll be looking very carefully at those overpayments to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Well, thanks for looking. I yield back.
I think